The Clippers have a James Harden problem. Gentlemen, I've noticed that something that I predicted was going to happen has once again come to fruition. Now, I've always been a big believer on you shouldn't judge a team until like game 20. I feel like that's when every team is kind of in their element and they're on a roll, especially when that team made a franchise-altering trade trying to basically build a super team. Like, there's gonna be an adjustment period. I expect that for just about any team that makes a big trade like that. But I draw the line where that player you traded for has been a shell of his former self. The team you just lost to was 1-8. They had one win and you lost to them. They outclassed you the entire game. And I also draw the line when the team you were previously on is thriving better than ever without you. It almost makes you think maybe James Harden was the problem. Now I know there is a group of people that are going to have a similar opinion to one of my best friends named 2for1, where he basically said like, guys, you know, it's only been a couple games. We can't judge them just yet. I mean, remember when they got Westbrook, they weren't winning to start off and they started to do pretty well towards the end of the season. And Quan, with all the love in my heart, with all due respect, please shut the fuck up. First off, these situations are not a one-to-one example. The James Harden trade was for a lot of assets and players that the Clippers are desperately going to miss. Westbrook cleared waiver wires, was a free agent, and decided to sign with the Clippers. It was a low-risk, high-reward situation that so far has definitely panned out. So no, I don't think we can use these two examples and try to compare them and say, guys, let's be optimistic about this. Harden on the Clippers, he's gonna be fine. But I'm sorry, you are not going to succeed with 4 ball-dominant players, especially 4 ball-dominant players that about half of them are out of their prime. And that's me being generous. You can make an argument that the other 2 are out of their prime. I'll let you figure out who I'm talking about. Now, I know there are gonna be some Harden fans saying, oh, you can't possibly be trying to blame Harden for everything. And to that I say, no, I'm not trying to blame Harden for everything. I am trying to blame Harden for just about everything that's going on right now. First of all, this was Harden's choice to come to the Clippers. This was the team he wanted to go to. Why the fuck did he think joining a team where there would be 4 ball-dominant players all trying to score the ball at the same time would work out? Like, that's not gonna work out, man. Unless James Harden thought that they were gonna convert Russell Westbrook and Paul George into like 3-point shooters or spot-up shooters, then I don't know how he thought this was gonna pan out. But I mean, he is the system.
You know, I'm not a system player. I am a system.
Guys, I am not bullshitting when I say I looked for 20 minutes to find evidence this was fake or AI or deepfake, and no, this is 100% real. This man is fucking delusional. I am the system. All right, Gorlock the Destroyer, calm the fuck down, man. We're talking about the system of a basketball team, not the fucking strip club. Now, what sucks about this entire situation is that I actually liked Harden in Philly for the first half of his time there. I thought him and Joel Embiid would not have been a terrible duo. I didn't think they were gonna win their first year, but does any real duo actually do that? Like, as soon as they come together? Plus, it was like a mid-season trade. But you can't tell me the idea of having James Harden converted into a great playmaker and someone that can score when you need him to, that's not a terrible idea. It's like you take the worst thing about Harden and you make it good, and then you take the best thing about Harden and you tone it down just a little bit. The crazy thing is, Harden didn't need to average 30 points per game in Philly. He could have been a guy that got you 20 and 10 and it would have led to the success of the Sixers. It's not Harden's fault that Joel Embiid is a consistent playoff choker. It's also not Harden's fault that they didn't realize that Tyrese Maxey is a better version of him. At least he will be in the future. But it is Harden's fault that for the millionth time in like a 2-year span, this man is once again leaving his team to go somewhere else. Now, I know what you're saying, Spex. How bad can Clippers Harden be? I mean, like, it's still James Harden. He's gonna produce something, right? I mean, yeah, 13.5 points per game while shooting about 47% from the field. That's definitely something. Now, there's a part of me that wants to give him the benefit of the doubt because it has been 4 games. Like, if you guys don't know, he hasn't played a single game this year until he got to the Clippers. But on the other hand, I also can't look at clips like this and say, damn, this man looks stiff as hell. He doesn't look the same. Like, I know what most people are probably gonna look at as like, oh, he did the thing with his feet, or oh, he airballed a shot, and cool, that's funny. I'm gonna make fun of it. But the fact that Harden looks like this and he just doesn't look like someone that is actually good at dribbling the basketball, it kind of concerns me. I mean, I've seen multiple examples of Harden dribbling the ball and he just looks completely stiff. Man's looks like me at the YMCA trying to put up a cool 25 and 10, but I put up a solid 3, 6 and 2. That's 3 points, 6 personal fouls, and 2 airballed threes. Gotta say, I had quite the night. But all jokes aside, this is not the Harden that the Clippers thought they were going to get. Now, in my videos, I usually have a silver lining, and I do think there is a silver lining, but it's gonna take James Harden kind of putting his ego aside. I do think, in a twisted, weird way, there's a possibility that this James Harden trade actually works out. There's a possibility possibility that the Clippers can take this 4-game losing streak and turn it into a winning streak. And the best way I can explain this is if I were personally the head coach of the Los Angeles Clippers. The best way I would describe this is I think Kawhi Leonard and Paul George would basically be doing the same thing they're doing right now. It seems like Paul George hasn't really been affected by James Harden, which is good because he is the #1 option on this team. I know some people want to say Kawhi, and when Kawhi is on, he's on, but honestly, I think this is Paul George's team. Debate a fucking wall. I think Kawhi as a second option is not terrible. In fact, I think he's a great second option. There's also going to be those nights where Paul George is off, or maybe the whole offense is off, but Kawhi is just on, and that's a great guy to fall back on. Plus, I can't ignore the fact that even though he's getting up there in age and he's had a lot of injuries, this man is still a pretty good defender. But the real question of the offense is what happens to James Harden and Russell Westbrook. I know Harden and Westbrook are not the best when it comes to, not turning over the ball. But from what I've seen, I feel like Harden is a lot more careless with the ball. He's a lot more sluggish, and he just doesn't look like he's playing like a good point guard. Now, on the actual depth chart itself, Russell Westbrook is technically already listed as the point guard, but it's James Harden. He's going to try to be ball dominant. He's going to want to control the offense because, of course, he's the system. But I made a comment earlier where I said, I guess James Harden wants to see Paul George and all these guys be converted into spot-up shooters. I think the best case scenario for Harden is him being a spot-up shooter. That is the only value he might have. I think Harden's value is completely depleted as a player. And no, I don't think there's a situation where a team with 4 ball-dominant players that are ISO heavy is just not going to work out on the offensive side. You need movement. You need to run plays. I mean, look at the Phoenix Suns. They're a fucking joke right now. And this is coming from a Suns fan, so don't think I'm just being a hater and I'm saying it like everyone else. No, I'm pissed off at the way they're playing. But trust me, that's a video in itself. It's coming soon, guys. Believe me. Oh, and the defensive side of this team, oh my god, don't even get me fucking started. Now, there is an alternative option for the Clippers, and it's really risky, and it takes someone to kind of put their ego aside. But I think one of them should become the 6th man. I don't see a situation where all 4 of these players can be on the same court and just dominate together. I don't think that's possible. Maybe in a late game situation, but even then, I just don't think it makes sense to have these guys on the court at the same time. If either Westbrook or Harden came down to the 6th man, preferably Harden, I think then maybe we'd start to see some team success. I also think it's important to note the fact that in that Grizzlies game, when Harden was on the court, he had a plus-minus of -28. And if you watch the game, you could tell when Harden came into the game, they started to struggle. When he left, they became like a positive team. And I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, all this has taught me, this entire Clipper situation, that Memphis Grizzlies game, it taught me one thing. Harden is a net negative to your franchise. Do not have this man join your team. Wait, Spex, why would you say that? I mean, yeah, I know it's been obvious and we've all been saying it for like a whole +2 years, but why would you say this now? Well, probably because the fact that Tyrese Maxey literally just dropped 50 fucking points as soon as Harden left. I mean, is it crazy for me to say that Harden was low-key holding back Tyrese Maxey? Hey, I know Harden FC is gonna get mad at me, but Tyrese Maxey might be better than Harden, and it's not even close right now. Now, I think there's only really one thing I can do to explain this entire James Harden situation. I think we only need one picture, well, a chart specifically. Gentlemen, please direct your attention to the screen which you're watching this video on, and if you're not looking at the screen, then why are you still watching, bro? Get off TikTok. Because people like to call me Jimmy High Roller, here is a chart on the screen right here. This chart is the fuck around and find out chart. Basically, depending on how much you fuck around, it will depend on how much you're gonna find out. And the Clippers decided to fuck around trading a bunch of assets for James Harden, someone who is clearly on the decline of his career. I'd say this is about a level 9, maybe level 10. And right now, they are finding out that this was a terrible idea. So in conclusion, James Harden is the worst thing in the NBA right now. Also, Quan, I'm sorry I told you to shut the fuck up. Nah, I'm just kidding. Fuck you, you old prick.